right. All right, guys. Welcome to our first NFL first round mock draft for Texans Unfiltered. Me and Zach were talking one day, and I was like, Zach, it's so boring. Please give me something to do. Let's figure out something. I said we need to add another guy, and he grabs Carter, and we're going to go through the first round, and then maybe the second. I don't know. We'll see how drunk we are, I guess, and then just take it from there.
On water.
Oh.
Dude, Carter's like 12. Like, he's not going to drink.
That's part of the reason you can't see me on the screen right now. I don't want to show my hand. I don't want to look like I'm like 5.
Is that Carter? Are we going to ever be able to see you, or are we just going to roll with the little circle avatar and just people are going to assume what you look like?
I'm trying to get the camera working, but it is like it's saying something about the computer, like it not being like I don't know. There's something programmed that's not allowing me to access it.
Oh, all right.
The mic's working.
We should filter his voice too.
Maybe it'll just like pop up in like mid draft.
That'd be creepy. Honestly, it just starts flickering and just starts showing his face.
Oh God! All right, he just like fades in and out. Just keeps coming. He's got devil eyes.
Every time he announces his pick, his face comes on, and then it shuts off when it's not his pick anymore. There we go.
I got the hair all ready for this too. I actually showered for once during this quarantine. I was all ready to go.
So you didn't go
shower in Canada though?
James and I just threw a hat on. That's what we did.
Yeah, dude. I just threw. I was like, nah. All right. Well, I guess our listeners know you, Zach. But Carter, Zach? Why don't you go through, introduce yourself, what you do, and where they can find you, and then let's go to Carter and just kind of kick it off from there.
All right. Well, starting with me here, I've been on this podcast a couple times, so you guys have probably heard whenever we talk Colts on the Texans Unfiltered here, I've usually jumped on. But yeah, my name's Zach Hicks. I work for Stampede Blue and also Cover One recently, covering the draft with Cover One. And if you guys don't know Cover One, I highly recommend checking out that site. I mean, they do some great stuff, and I was saying that well before they brought me on. They're just excellent with everything they do over there. But yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at ZachHicks2. My tweets aren't terribly bad. Every now and then I'll get a good one out there. So yeah, it's definitely worth the follow for those rare good ones on there.
Absolutely. And Carter, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, who you work for, where you're based, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I'm a newbie to the Texans Unfiltered podcast today, but I also work at Stampede Blue, like Zach Hicks. And also, I'm a publications intern at the Draft Network, which is this site right here, if you can see on the screen. And it's just great working for them and talking all things and writing all things draft.
Awesome. Yeah. And, Carter, where can they find you on Twitter?
Oh, right. CDonic3. And like Zach, occasionally, I'll tweet out the odd good thing.
He's got better meme game than me for sure. That's why I brought him over to Stampede Blue, honestly, just his meme game.
Oh.
That's why.
Well, all right, so we're going to go we'll go through the first round. We'll see what happens. We're going to do on-air trades. We started to negotiate a little bit earlier, and we were like, nah, fuck that. Let's wait, and let's see how it goes live. So that should be fun. I'm going to trade Deshaun Watson for a kicker.
Oh, yes, I got the kicker for you, Adam Vinatieri. There we go.
Ooh. Oh, he didn't struggle at all last year.
No. He's not regressing whatsoever. He's the same kicker that he was.
He's entering his prime. He's got that experience on his hands.
Experience. There we go. He's a leader in the locker room.
I mean, we had Shane Leckler, so I mean, we had him at like 44. So if we could just add Adam Vinatieri, I think it'd be he's probably a Bill O'Brien kind of guy too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bill O'Brien kind of guy is kind of, washed up over the hill, not worth the contract. And, even though I think Vinatieri, I don't even know if he's making vet minimum, but he's probably not even worth that. So yeah, I think it all kind of checks all those boxes there.
Well, then we got a deal. All right, so let's start to talk because I said it already, and I should have probably held my cards a little closer to my chest, but I am not interested in Joe Burrow at 1 taking care of Cincinnati, which is going to throw everybody for a loop, as that's not what is projected to happen. So I'm open for business over here in Cincy.
Well, if you're open for business, I control the Chargers at 6, and we are a bit of an O-line, but also a quarterback away from contention here. And I'm willing to part with picks 6, 36, first rounder next year, and second rounder next year.
That's changed a little bit since our conversations in the district in the DMs. I saw 2 firsts one in 2021 and one in 2022. I thought.
I don't know if I'm willing to part with that 2022. I'll offer the 2 1s and the 2 2s.
Okay.
You're
all what about you, Zach? You control the Dolphins at 5.
Who else do I control? Just the Dolphins.
Right now.
Where's the spreadsheet? Honestly, I'm not prepared at all.
I have mine open. I don't know if you guys have yours open.
I got mine open. I got mine open.
All right. Okay. Look, I'm the only one unprepared, so it's fine. Let me. So I know the Dolphins have every other pick in this draft, so we can. What did Carter offer again? I was looking at the comments, and Mir256 doesn't understand what we're doing right now, which is great.
Okay. Near we are doing a mock draft on the banner. It'll tell you exactly what we're doing. We're going for a first round mock draft just to give you guys something to do while you are hanging out with all your family that you hate to be around.
Hey, man. I don't have any family around me right now. So.
Oh, you have a fiance. You can't say those kinds of things. I've been married for 15 years, so I can say those kinds of things.
She's at work right now. She's at work, so.
Okay. So I think the offer was let's see, we're going to swap the pick 6. He was also going to add the second round pick and then the first next year and a second next year. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, man, he's offering a lot here.
Yeah, but the Dolphins have a lot in the first round. I really wanted to. That would be pretty interesting.
I don't want to give up all 3 of them, but I like where I am at 5. 5, 18, 39, and 70 in this year's draft would be the most I would go.
Okay, let's. I like that deal because that still gets me a quarterback that I like. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and do that deal.
Wait, I'll throw in a 4th rounder next year, and okay, yeah, that's all I'll go. That's all I'll go. That changes everything. The 4th rounder, that changes everything.
So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, if I'm thinking of the Cincinnati fan base, they're dying for something to change there. They have their head coach in his second season. If I was able to grab 2 at 5 and also have another first round pick to grab somebody to pair with him opposite, or if I wanted to go to the offensive line to protect him, I could do that. I think I'm going to take the Miami offer.
Oh. Okay. Oh. So somebody write it down again here. Here's what it is again. 5, 18, 39, and 70.
All right. So we've got a trade here. We've got Bengals, and we've got Dolphins, and we've got 5, 18, 39 and 70.
39 and 70. Yep.
This might decline it. I'm not sure.
Oh, wait a minute.
Ooh.
Oh, there's a trade. There's a trade. Oh my God.
There we go. Zach, you want to do the honors?
Oh, should I take Jake Fromm with this right now? What did they do in draft day? He traded all the way up and he took some edge rusher that he could have got at like pick 20.
I mean, it would make a lot of sense.
Well, no, obviously moving up here for number 1, moving up quite a lot. But, when the Dolphins were tanking, or they were getting all these picks last year, they were doing it for their quarterback. So Joe Burrow at number 1 here is where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I think it's a smart pick. I think when you look at the Dolphins and what they're doing, like you have enough ammunition still in the first round to be able to protect Burrow. You have a ton of picks in the latter part of the draft. It makes total sense. When I look at Cincinnati and I think about what they're doing and what they have, I think trading back and trying to add value to the team to be able to also grab a quarterback, but also add other aspects of the roster. I would like to do this, but since he's probably going to be hurt, but that's fine. We're not here. I'm not a Bengals fan.
Well, the one thing I like about this for the Dolphins, I still kept 26 and 56. So, obviously I'm giving up a good bit to move up, but I'm getting the best quarterback in the draft, in my opinion, and I think in the league's opinion too, and still having another first-round pick and a mid-second-round pick. So I just think, factoring all that in and keeping future picks too, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and the thing with Burrow compared to a lot of prospects too, a lot of these teams at the bottom of the draft, they have weak O-lines, right? One of the things Burrow's shown is even with a weaker offensive line because of that strong pocket presence, because he's able to sense pressure so well. Yeah. So I think it's kind of two birds with one stone here. You don't necessarily have to go left tackle at 26. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of helps them out as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
No, I would agree. All right, well, it looks like Washington is on the board, and Zach, you have control of Washington. So with the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, the Washington Redskins select.
Yeah, so this one's pretty simple as well. I'm going to go with Chase Young here with the second pick. Washington has a lot of needs, and they could definitely trade back, because they have so many needs. But, at 2, you just got to take the best player in the draft, and I think Chase Young has showed a lot last year, just how good he is, and Washington just needs a player at that level. Even though they took Sweat last year and they have Kerrigan still, they just need a player of Chase Young's level. So Chase Young at 2, I think, just makes so much sense for them.
I also think when you look at Washington, it's a new regime, it's a new culture potentially with Ron Rivera. We don't know exactly what we have in Dwayne Haskins, but we do know that they took him in the first round. They're obviously going to roll with him for at least a year. So when you add a defensive player like Chase Young to your team, it just changes everything. And Chase Young is by far the best player in the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing much to add to that comment. Chase Young, brilliant player. Great pick.
Okay, and with the number 3 pick in the NFL draft, Carter, you're on the board with the Lions.
Well, this spot is open for business. We have our quarterback of the future. We think that a team might want to jump Cincinnati for Tua here. Does anyone want to move up?
Ooh, what other teams do I have? Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So, all right, I'm the Panthers at 8. I would offer you, let's see, what do the Panthers have in next year's draft? I would give you a 1 next year and a swap this year and a second this year.
Ooh.
Whoa. Oh.
Whoa.
So 3 for 7, and then I get your first next year?
You get my first next year.
That's going to be a top 5 pick?
No, it's not. I got Tua.
Dude, you're going to screw over your Dolphins or your Bengals trade here, man.
It already happened. What can I tell you? Jake Fromm's coming to the Bengals.
Hey, Justin Herbert, the cold weather. He's got the big hands. He can handle it. But no, if I'm Detroit here, I even think with Tua, the Panthers aren't making the playoffs next year. So you're getting a top 20 pick next year. You're dropping back 4 spots here. You're still going to be able to land a premium player, potentially even the player you would have landed at 3. Okuda might even be on the board there, or Simmons might be on the board there. So I think that's a no-brainer. So we can't trade next year's first in this mock draft setup, but I will plug ahead and I will make that trade.
My God, man. I wish I could jump up there and try to screw with this, but I think I have the Cardinals and Jets. Yeah, there's no. Why would I do that? They don't need to back.
Oh, wait, Carter, wait.
Yes.
The Broncos are also interested.
Oh.
Why, dude? Okay. Locke played well down the stretch. Dude, you're Bill O'Brien this mock draft.
You know who else is interested? Any team I control.
Yeah.
Let me see. Who else I got?
I'm just kidding. Stick with Carolina.
Patriots are going to trade their next 25 first round games. Jarrett Stidham straight up.
Okay, so we've got that's
so first next year, swap this year, and a second this year.
That's insane.
Okay, so a second this year, the 38th pick. That's what you're saying?
Yep.
And 7. And next year's first. Holy, that's more than you arguably got going from 1 to 5. Wow. Okay. I will confirm that trade.
Do you know how pissed off Panthers fans would be? You know how pissed off they're going to be when you probably tweet this out. Like,
Yes, they're going to be super pissed.
they paid like $60 million for Bridgewater, and they traded up for Tua.
So we're going Derek Brown here, yes? Yeah. No.
We are going to go.
I'll let you do the
We're going.
honors.
So you guys thought I was actually going to take Tua, but I'm actually taking the first wide receiver off the board. No, I'm just kidding. I'm taking Tua.
Dude, like Carter and I, we both got quiet because we're like, oh shit.
So with the third pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Tua. I'm not going to try his last name because I always mess it up.
Oh, you gotta try it. It's the Roger Goodell way. Do it.
Okay, Tua Tagovailoa.
That's
Where'd you get a T?
It's better than Goodell.
Wait, what?
Did you say Tyga Velodia or something?
Yeah. Oh, I saw a D for some reason. It's so small.
It's stick out your tongue. That's the best way. Tongue of Viola.
Tongue Viola.
Dude, that sounds like a new mixed drink.
It doesn't look like that though.
Tua Chupacabra.
The Tyga Velodia. Oh, Jesus.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, a little bit. So, obviously, yeah, like the Panthers paid Teddy Bridgewater quite a bit, but we've also learned with these deals and the way that they're structured, especially that one specifically, it seems like that is something they can move away from in 2 years. Potentially also move Teddy Bridgewater if he has a solid year and gain back another pick, potentially. But I think with Tua, like, I think Tua is the best quarterback in this draft. I know he has a lot of risk involved with the injury history and things of that nature. I love his touch on the ball. I think he's a gamer. And I think Matt Rule would do a lot with Tua in the offense.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean,
And I will say, and that's a great.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead. You go ahead. You take that one.
I was just gonna say, you know, we see with new coaches, they usually like to pick their young quarterback to roll with, and you know, even throwing all that money at Bridgewater. Yeah, I mean, if he falls in love with Tua and the offer's right, and he feels like that offer's right, then yeah, I definitely could see them moving up for a quarterback. I mean, those new coaches like to tie themselves to young quarterbacks, and Tua's a damn good quarterback, so I could definitely see a coach doing that.
Just my thought.
Well,
If you can grab your quarterback, take it.
Better than like.
Go ahead, Carter.
I think like Bridgewater's better than like the Glennons he's better than the Glennons and the Matt Flynn's, but you're looking at again a guy who was paid big money but tied to these guys, are not committed to these guys. And again, if they think he's right, he's a great fit in Joe Brady's that spread scheme there. They've got the weapons outside. Now they just added Robbie Anderson. That's a nice talented receiver core you've got. O-line's still a bit of an issue, but you've got your left tackle. I mean, I guess right tackle is more important for Tua because that's kind of his blind side. But they can continue to patch that up. But getting the quarterback in place, that's a big win.
Yep. All right, who's on the clock now? Who's on the clock?
All right, so now the Giants are on the clock, and I don't think this will shock anybody. But I'm open for business if there's anybody that's willing to throw out another deal like the Panthers just did. So I can save my pride. So
are you going to draft the way you would here, or are you going to try to do the Gettleman thing and draft like Gettleman would?
Well, so it's a little bit of both because I align a little bit with what Gettleman is thinking. Like Isaiah Simmons here would be just like an amazing player in that defense and give them somebody to build on in the future for that defense. But at the same time, you look at Daniel Jones, there's a ton of great left tackles and right tackles available, just tackles in general. But at the same time, like, do you want to miss on a player like Isaiah Simmons? True. I'm looking at what I got here, and yeah, I don't think the teams I have are going to want to trade up here. I think the teams that I got, especially, you know, I have the Cardinals, and I don't think they even have much to give up except for like future picks. So, yeah, I think I'm good where I am. I don't know about you, Carter.
Well, I've got the Jaguars, Raiders, and Broncos. Those are the three that I had that kind of have a couple third rounders. Broncos have a couple third rounders. Jags got the 2 firsts. but I don't see really anyone for those teams. Maybe Okuda, but I don't think Jacksonville. You just traded your corner for a couple first rounders, so I don't think trading a couple first rounders for another corner is the way to go. And they're in rebuilding mode anyway, so I think collect as many assets as you can. I think I'm going to stay put here as well and let you make the decision.
Yep. Well, all right. So for me, the pick is in. With the 4th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Giants take Jedrick Willis, tackle out of Alabama.
Wills.
Great pick. Wills, yeah.
Wills.
But great pick. It's Goodell. It's Goodell. It's not him.
James, I'm loving that
I know it's Wills. But if he said to embrace Roger Goodell.
Okay, I'm gonna say.
What do you want me to do here?
Okay, I was gonna say you're killing it if you're going for the Roger Goodell impression, and that's what you're doing so far. And
how are we gonna do like the whole handshake hug thing? Like,
we just
when Chason gets selected, can you just say Clavon? I would love that.
No, I think when you look at the Giants and what they need to do, right? Like Daniel Jones showed some decent stuff last year on tape, and you have to build around him if you're going to do anything in that division. You know, with Dak Prescott, who I think is an average quarterback. I know a lot of people like Dak Prescott. I also hate the Cowboys, so I'm automatically not going to like Dak Prescott. But you have Carson Wentz in Philly. You know, you have to protect Daniel Jones, and this is a great draft to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get to this next pick here, I would like to address a comment here by Ball Bullets in Now, I guess. That's how they're trying to go with that? Carter and I also have no clue what's going on in this. This is James' show, and we are letting him, just run it right now. So we are passengers on this crazy train right now. So just let's all enjoy.
In the great
words, to be honest, both Carter and Zach loved the Panthers trade. I just want to throw that out there.
Carter did.
Right. In the great words of Stephen A. Smith, do not attach any association of this with me whatsoever.
Carter, dude, you made the trade of the century. You got the Panthers first rounder next year by moving back like 4 spots.
Yeah, Bob Quinn's sitting pretty right here, and I think he's going to still end up with the right player that he would have taken at 3 anyways. So,
hell yeah, Lions.
What's funny is when we're all talking on Twitter in 3 years, and we see Tua just lighting the league on fire, and we're going to be like, "Wow, I can't believe they got him in the second round." James gave up everything to grab him. Good job.
The thing is, if a quarterback pans out, it doesn't matter how much you gave. Like it's gonna be a win for that franchise, right? So again, if Burrow and Tua pan out, which people think, but at the same time, it's an instant win for Detroit because you already have your quarterback and you get those assets back, right? So,
but the funny thing about Detroit is, I like Stafford. I've always been a huge Stafford fan, but at the end of the day, like there's so much smoke around Stafford not being the guy and then potentially moving on that teams could potentially be weary of them taking Tua at that spot. Not saying it'll happen, but it could.
They could play it up for sure.
Exactly.
Well, and I think even at 2, I don't think it's a lock. I mean, it's Haskins was like Dan Snyder voted on Haskins last year, so it's not like a Cardinal situation because the owner wasn't really tied to Josh Rosen like in this. But at the same time, a quarterback could easily go 2 as well, right? We just don't know if these teams are in love with quarterbacks. And again, if all it takes is one team to be in love with a quarterback, all it takes is Washington to fall in love with Tua, to have him taken there, and then this whole draft be thrown for a loop, right? So anything can happen on draft day, especially with these quarterbacks. Better quarterback class than most of recent years as well. And 75% of quarterbacks taken in the first round since 2010. I did this research. 75% of quarterbacks taken in the first round since 2010, a trade up. So that's a big, big number.
Wait, Via or
Say it again?
Via.
Is it not Via?
Was that the Canadian aspect of it? It's Via.
See, I'm blaming James for all the names. Like it's.
I was gonna say, I knew that was coming.
What a boot are we talking about? Oh damn! I said about at the end. I've had a couple beers today. Okay, don't judge me.
All right, but anyways, I think with the pick, like neither of you guys have really talked about it, but I think this is when you look at this draft, especially based on years past, like there haven't been standout tackles in the last 2 to 3 years, right? Dillard was considered the top offensive line prospect last year. On tape, he didn't look so well when he was playing with Philly. Looks like the Texans might have actually done okay by grabbing Titus Howard. But outside of that, like there really aren't tackles, and it's becoming a position where it's almost nearly extinct to find the funnel to be able to have these prospects come in. So when you have the opportunity to grab one, you got to, especially when you have a young quarterback.
Yeah, go ahead, Carter.
Sorry, but yeah, he's my OT1 as well. I think it's a great pick. You look at his film on the right side, and it's literally just domination. I think his game versus Auburn this year was probably the best tape of any prospect I put on. He's got elite feet, super quick, great passer, and he's just going to fit in perfectly with New York. Right? Your biggest thing right now is I don't necessarily trust Daniel Jones, but that team does. So you've got to do everything in your power around Daniel Jones and give him the best chance to succeed. That isn't Simmons and Jeffrey Okudah, as good as they aren't giving Daniel Jones the best chance to succeed. Jedrick Wills is.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the only thing I want to add to it is my hot take I threw out on Twitter not too long ago is personally, everyone talks about this wide receiver class, how legendary he is and stuff. And I do think it's a really deep wide receiver class. But personally, from me going really in depth studying this tackle class, I think the tackle class is probably the best overall class like within this draft class. I think, it's not just those top 4 guys that we're going to talk about throughout here that will all go in our first round here, or even that 5th guy in Josh Jones that will likely go in the first round as well. But it's those other guys, Matthew Pert, Ezra Cleveland, like all those type of guys too that are just super intriguing. And I think they're really good prospects as well. And, I know some disagree with me. Jim Nagy, Senior Bowl Director, has been kind of bashing the class a little bit recently. But, personally, just watching all these tackles on tape, I just think this is a really, really good tackle class. And the NFL needs it so bad. I mean, there is just piss poor tackle play across the league right now. And, some of the best tackle play is a bunch of veterans that are going to be, retired here in a couple of years. So the league really needs this tackle class to, not only be this good, but also, translate to the NFL. And I think a lot of these guys will. And Wills is one of the better ones for sure.
I agree 100%. All right. So right now we have the Miami Dolphins on the clock. Zach, you control the Miami. No?
Nope.
No, I traded up for Burrow, man.
That's right. My spreadsheet isn't updated.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals on up right now, and they have 2 picks in the first round now. So, Zach, I'll let you take it.
Oh, am I taking the Bengals pick here, or because I thought we traded, so you would take the Bengals pick still?
Oh, I guess that's right, huh? I'm still looking at that stupid-ass spreadsheet that we put together. Yeah, we're going to have to go ahead here. So when I look at Cincinnati, there's tons of needs on this team. One of them, the biggest, being quarterback, but obviously now they're going to have to roll with Dalton for the rest of the year. I am going Isaiah Simmons for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Whoa. Not Herbert. Okay.
Not Herbert.
Favorite part of this draft is just the occasional Canadian accent coming out. Woo, not Herbert.
I think Isaiah Simmons is just one of those players that if you can grab a player like that, you have to. He's such a freak athlete. They're missing a playmaker on that side of the ball. They really don't have anybody else that can make plays anymore. Geno Atkins is getting up there. Like, who is really on their defense now? And when you can add a player like Isaiah Simmons, I think you have to at that spot, especially given the fact that now you also have another first with the trade from 1 to 5.
Yeah, I would be very tempted to, go Herbert here, and I like Herbert. And Carter, I will say I'm sorry for making fun of you about your accent here. It's just...
It's all good.
I'm sorry. Don't cry. Good. It's okay. It's okay. I apologize. We can't see his face, so we don't know his reaction. He might be just pissed right now, punching the screen. But
that'll be the time that his camera comes in, is when he's just punching a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I've met Carter before in person a couple times, and I don't know if he has an angry bone in his body, so I don't even know if he could get angry. I don't know. Carter, can you get angry?
Well, I don't have any muscles in my body, that's for sure. But I don't know if there's an angry bone in my body. We'll see. When the Seahawks draft a running back in the first round, that's probably when the first angry bones will come out.
Love it. So my comment I'll say with Simmons though is, I'd be very tempted to go Herbert here because I do think Herbert, is worth that pick, and even maybe a Jordan Love type going that high, even though he's very raw, and you really have to trust your coaching staff if you're going to take Jordan Love that high, and I don't know how much you would trust the Bengals coaching staff to develop him. But when it comes to quarterbacks, if you're not fully sure on them and you're not sold, yeah, don't reach, don't take. You have to be sold on your guy. If you're not sold on your guy, then don't just take him just because. Obviously, don't just keep waiting around. But once you find your guy, you got to go for him. And if Herbert and Love aren't your guy, then yeah, take the best player available. And Isaiah Simmons can just do so much. I mean, from year one, he's going to have such a big impact. Just however a defensive coordinator wants to use him. Personally, I think he's going to be a really good, strong safety, like overhang safety that can also drop into the nickel and also blitz off the edge a little bit. But any way they want to use him, linebacker, corner, whatever a team wants to use him, he has all that skill. So him going this high, I don't disagree too much at all.
Well, they also lost their slot corner in Darqueze Dennard in free agency, and then all they added at linebacker was really, I think, with Josh Bynes. So that's not really a big upgrade that prevents you. They did sign Von Bell kind of to fill that box safety role, so you have to kind of envision him, I think, more so as a linebacker in this case. Yeah. But again, it's just the versatility and his ability to be a chess piece that really intrigues teams.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also think, like, when you look at this quarterback class, like, having the pick at 18, like we've seen so many times in so many drafts where there'll be a guy that's projected to go in the second or third round, and then another team is in love with them and they think that the value is there for like a Jalen Hurts or something, or a player similar that they feel comfortable taking for their quarterback in the future. And I mean, we've seen it year in, year out that this happens. So it's kind of why when you look at Isaiah Simmons and what he's able to do, if you can add that kind of player to your defense and then also still potentially grab your guy if he's there, that's what you do. It's all about value.
Yeah, definitely. So who do we got next here? We got Chargers, right? Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers.
Cool.
My first pick on the board here. So I was likely probably going to go Simmons, trying to pair him up with Dervin James, but that is not an option anymore. The Chargers are a tricky team, right? Because you feel like you're a quarterback away. Every year, everyone looks at that roster and it's like, this is a playoff team, right? But it's just injuries, bad luck, whatever. But they got to get their quarterback. Cam Newton would be a great fit there, but they're probably not going Cam Newton free agency. They've got Tyrod Taylor there. Everything is looking for a rookie quarterback. Justin Herbert now is kind of clearly my quarterback 3 right now. But that's really not a negative to him. That's kind of just a testament to how good the other quarterbacks in this class are. You look at the tools, and he's got arguably the top tools in the class. His processing is also, I think, better than people give him credit for. Especially at the Senior Bowl, there were drills where him and Jalen Hurts were thrown at the same time, and he was getting the ball out seconds before Hurts was getting it out. So I think he's better in the mental aspect than people give him credit for. And the physical tools obviously are there. You want him to go to a perfect situation though, and the Chargers kind of arguably are that. You got Brian Bulaga upgrade at right tackle, so your line's been upgraded. Your weapons on the outside are great. Eckler's there kind of to be your safety valve. You've got the weapons there. The defense is strong. Going Herbert here.
I like it. I like it.
I like it too. There's really nothing that you can say about this move. Like, they have the pieces in place, and there's not a lot of times where you can take a quarterback and insert them immediately and give them weapons like Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and then now you're adding to a rebuilt offensive line that isn't fully there yet, but they're close. And there's some pieces that they can add to be able to sum that up. It's just they're only a quarterback away. And while Cam Newton might potentially be that guy, and we'll know before the draft, right? So that could change everything up. But as of right now, while we're doing this draft, this is a perfect pick for what the Chargers want to do. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't have much more to add than what you guys said. You guys really hit it there. The only thing is, again, the offensive line still needs some work, but Bulaga and Turner are on that line now, and those are two vets that were, Pro Bowl caliber guys, still playing at a pretty high level. And again, kind of what we talked about, a really, really deep offensive tackle class, pretty solid interior offensive line class too. I don't think that gets enough credit. I do like a good bit of the interior linemen in this class as well. So I think, they could just build on that offensive line here with their next couple picks. So yeah, I really like Herbert with that pick there.
Yep, I would agree. I don't think there's anything that you can say bad about this move. All right, so let's get to the next pick, which would be Carter, you again with the Lions.
All right. Well, I would have taken this guy at 3, so this has fallen right into my lap here.
The commentary is not needed.
I don't have much to say about this one. I didn't take him for the Chargers, right? They signed Chris Harris. They got Casey Hayward. They've got Desmond King. They're good. But Lions here, Jeffrey Okudah. You just traded Darius Slay. You've got a huge need there. Even before Slay was gone, I think they had a need at corner. So you grab him. He can be your shutdown corner of the future. And arguably the second best player in this class, if kind of you exclude quarterbacks and their whole positional value kind of from it, arguably the second best player in this class. And I don't think it's out. I don't think it's not out of the realm of possibility that Washington kind of considers him at 2 or takes him at 2.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I mean, I follow the Redskins, and I live around here, and I grew up a Redskins fan, and I definitely think they can consider Okudah. And the one thing I want to add about Okudah here is, the other day I actually sat down and talked with Antonio Cromartie, former All-Pro corner and stuff like that, and we were breaking down some guys' films. And with Okudah, he was just raving about one thing with Okudah. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most electric guy. But you will not find another guy in this class that is better with his technique, better with his confidence, smoother with his feet. I mean, he is just so confident. He knows what he's doing. He knows his limitations, and he knows just how to make plays on the ball. And Cromartie was telling me, I asked him at the very end of the interview, what are the most important things for a corner? And he basically just described Okudah again. I mean, just being confident in yourself, being good in your technique, and being, the way that Okudah plays. And I think that's why, Okudah is going to go as high as he does. And I think, you're just getting a shutdown corner from day one. And I think he just does so much for your defense because he takes away one side of the field. So, yeah, Okudah for the Lions, for a team that really needs, a playmaker on that defense and a guy who can really shut it down, I think he's a great fit for them.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, especially, you just got rid of Darius Slay, who's been there for quite a bit of time. You're able to add an instant playmaker that replaces him, might even potentially upgrade that position. It's a solid move, and it helps the Lions tremendously.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So, yeah, next pick here. I think I'm on the clock again.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Zach's on the clock with the Cardinals. You have my favorite wide receiver in the league on your team now, so you don't need to take a wide receiver. So let's see where the Cardinals go here. Unless we want to trade you a pick just to give you one.
Well, I'm interested in trading here. I got a couple teams that might want to come up. Eagles at 21 and Broncos at 15 are both prime targets here.
Okay.
So what do you just think?
I'm interested in the Broncos because I don't want to drop back too far because I think there's a very obvious position of need for the Cardinals, and I got 3 guys that I really like at that position of need, and I don't want to drop back too far and miss out on one of them. So I'm interested in what the Broncos have to offer for sure.
15 and 46 for 8. And throw in a 4th rounder.
James, you want to jump up with any of your teams? No?
No, I'm good.
I'm
surprised that's the only offer. That's the offer. I mean, you're moving up 8 spots?
Yeah, I want to see.
Drop the 4th to a 5th.
Carter's great at just these day 3 picks are going to make a huge difference.
Hey, they could. You never know.
They could. I want to look at this real quick. I'm looking at the board of guys that are left real quick, just to.
You can also look at teams that you would want to trade with too, right? Like the other teams don't have to be interested. You can always make calls.
True. I don't think Bucks or Jets want to move up here, though. I think they're.
Or, if I'm the Raiders, I'd throw you. I've got 3 third-round picks. I'd throw you a 3rd rounder just to move up that 4 spots, or that way you get your tackle, and then you acquire a 3rd-round pick in the process.
So, for me, the way that I grade this tackle class, there's one guy that I have not like head and shoulders above, but I have graded as like could be a Hall of Famer one day because I just think he has this rare athleticism coming from a great school as well, and I just don't want to miss out on him. And I see that I see the Browns right there, and I don't want to take the risk. So I'm actually going to stay at this pick. I want to stay at this pick here.
Okay, so with the eighth pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals take.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking Tristan Wirfs here out of Iowa. I just think, before the Combine, you could see him on film. I mean, you could see that he's just a rare athlete. And the Combine kind of showed that he's not only a rare athlete, he's a historically rare athlete. And I just think, on his film, I think he takes great angles. He kicks out edge rushers so easily. He has so much strength. He's a former wrestler as well, and he just brings that to every aspect of his game as a run blocker and also as a pass blocker. He will have to develop a little bit as a pass blocker, which I'm not terribly concerned with. I think a lot of it is just kind of technique driven. I think he just has that base technique down when it comes to, positioning his body, getting out there, taking good angles. And I think when you have his athleticism, you have his power, and you have that base, fundamentals of understanding leverage, understanding angles and such like that, I think the sky's the limit for a guy like that. So I just think, his value is too high for me. Even though I like, guys like Becton and Thomas, I don't want to miss out on Wirfs here. So Wirfs, that's my pick right there.
I also think when you look at just what the Cardinals are doing right now, given what they were able to give up for DeAndre Hopkins and still be able to keep this pick and add to a position of need in a class that isn't normally around. Like you typically aren't going to have a class where there's 4 tackles worth taking in the first round. There's no reason for them to go anywhere else with this pick. We've seen what that offensive line looks like. We saw what Kyler Murray looked like behind that offensive line last year. Mm-hmm. That's their biggest position of need. And if you're able to help protect him with these weapons that he has, it's the most common sense pick probably in the draft right now.
Yeah, for sure. I do like Carter's offer. I was thinking about it because I was like, will one of these guys be there? But, Wirfs I think is just... I just have him too highly graded. Maybe that's just me, but I just love him, and I love him as a prospect. So I think he'd be a great fit with them too. They're just a very athletic offense. They like to get the ball down the field, and I think getting a guy who's athletic like that and kind of can move on the offensive line and protect that blind side for years to come, I think that's just a great fit.
I agree. All right. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock with the 9th pick. Carter, that is you.
All right, we need everything, so we will take any offer.
Yeah, I'm looking at my sheet, and I don't see anybody that I need to move up to help. Niners are pretty much they don't need a ton. Falcons, no. The only teams that I see that would need to potentially move up would be Jets, Raiders, honestly.
And
I'm Jets, and there is a position that I really want to address, but I got 2 good options, and I got 2 picks before me here, and I don't know if they'll both go that same position. So, I feel all right about staying where I am with Jets, and I would consider it with the Bucs if I wanted to go real aggressive, but I don't want to jump up there with the Bucs either. So I think I'm good right now trading up.
Could I make a trade with myself?
As long as it is a legitimately decent offer, absolutely.
It has to be better than a Bill O'Brien offer. Okay, we'll just.
So the bar is really low. It's really low.
You can't throw in a 30-yard running back with a +10 million cap hit.
All right, I'll go pick 9 for pick 20, straight up.
Straight.
So wait. So there's no incentive for them to do it. They're just do it.
No, I think it's a fair trade for both sides.
But they get nothing in return. They can still get whoever they want.
James, look who has pick 20.
Okay, that makes sense. I think you should probably throw in a 3rd.
Okay, seriously though, Denver at 15. I want one receiver really badly. Raiders, yeah. I would want a different receiver really badly because I think he would fit better with them. So I'm just debating. Both those teams have multiple 3rd-round picks.
I feel
You know
like
what?
Raiders with like one or two of those thirds would be more enticing for the Jags. They can still get a blue chip type player at that
I would
point.
agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I think that is the trade I'm going to make. We will go. Hold up. Give me
Looks like there's been a trade. The Raiders and the Jaguars. The Jaguars will be sending their 81 overall pick in the 3rd round to the Jacksonville Jaguars to swap positions
You know
in the
what?
1st.
Raiders are low on picks. We'll give them our 7th as well, just to.
Wow, that's so nice.
Sweeten in the
I
pot.
know.
That's nice. That's really nice of you. It's true what they say about Canadians. You guys are just nice guys.
He always wants to throw in more day 3 picks. He just wants to keep throwing them in.
They're game changers.
Okay, and the Broncos with that pick will take
Not the Broncos, Raiders, but
Raiders.
or Raiders. Sorry, yeah.
You really are Goodell.
Well, you know what's funny is you guys get to look at the screen only, and then I'm over here like bouncing around and hitting numbers, and then looking at this spreadsheet that's also off one number. So
all right.
the Raiders.
So this class for different teams, honestly, I would have a different receiver 1. Like it's one of those classes where like receiver fit matters as much because talent is so close together. I think with the Raiders here, I think a great fit for them, a guy who can come in immediately, be their number 1 target. Tyrell Williams really isn't getting it done in that aspect. Darren Waller, kind of tight end, whatever, big red zone threat, but you don't want him getting as many targets as he did last season again. I think the guy here who can come in right away, be productive, has the kind of best potential to be a number 1 wideout right away, and that's CeeDee Lamb.
Nice. All right, cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, Lamb is one of those guys where you don't really have to say too much about him. I mean, he's just really solid, very consistent. You know, he's not a burner and he's not this elite route runner, but he's a good enough route runner. He's smooth and he, you know, can catch almost everything and create after the catch. So, yeah, I definitely think that he's you know, I think he's kind of got the most potential to be a number 1 receiver in the NFL of this class.
Yeah, I mean, when you just look at the Raiders and what they need, like there's a lot of stuff that they could do on the defensive side, but I mean, there's nobody for Derek Carr to throw to. We've seen him struggle once Amari Cooper was gone. He literally has nobody else to go to, nobody dependable. This makes the most sense.
Well, and I'll say Henry Ruggs would be kind of a bit of a waste with Carr because he doesn't really throw deep ever. So I don't think that fit would be great. And honestly, like the Raiders, they had 2 big spots of need, which were receiver and linebacker, but they signed Corey Littleton, so linebacker's kind of all gone. So basically just their one huge need is receiver. So if you have to give up a pick or 2 to ensure you get your receiver 1, I think it's more than worth it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, who we got next here? We got Browns, I think?
The Browns.
Browns. All right, James.
I am not open for business on this pick, as there is a position I am truly needing to address. As my quarterback took a couple steps back last year, a lot of it had to do with protection. One Colts analyst and journalist, Zach Hicks, said that Baker Mayfield was better than Deshaun Watson at the beginning of last season. I did not forget. But here, yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear exactly what we need for the Browns. So I am going to go with offensive tackle Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. We saw the Browns struggle last year on offense. A lot of it had to do with just the fact that offensive line was extremely bad. I don't think people realize how bad that offensive line actually was. I also think a lot of it had to do with Baker Mayfield and his inability to be able to read defenses properly and also being able to get rid of the ball. But when you can add a guy that's going to be able to help, I think that's the guy you have to go to.
Yeah, no, this is just probably the easiest pick at this point. I mean, just to make, one of the better players in this draft. He's just a complete tank on the outside, mean finisher, really good athlete too, which we saw at the combine. I mean, it's so rare to see a guy his size move that way. And I just think, right tackle, left tackle, wherever they're going to put him. I mean, they just need someone of his caliber. And that's just a no-brainer pick right there.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate.
Carter, anything else?
I'll play devil's advocate a bit here. I mean, I love Becton and the value at 10. I have no problem with. I just think in the kind of that wide zone scheme they've got, and kind of just be able to play left tackle right away opposite Conklin. I think Andrew Thomas is a better fit with them kind of scheme wise. Like I'd probably go tackle wise. Like Wirfs would probably be the best fit, and then I'd go Thomas, probably the next best fit. But like value wise, again, I've got no problem with Becton. It's just kind of fit. I think Thomas is a little better there.
Okay. So next up is
Jets. That's me.
Jets.
All right, so I'm debating a couple of guys here. I think, man, this is tough because, I mean, the big three of the tackles are gone, and that's something that they definitely need a tackle. They need anyone on the offensive line. Their offensive line play is putrid.
They also need a wide receiver.
Yeah,
So bad.
I was about to say they also need a receiver. They also need defensive line, linebacker, corner. They need running back. They need every position, man. I mean, that's I could go anything here. So I will say, so I'm at what pick are we at? 11, right?
Yep.
Yes.
If you guys want to jump up a couple spots here, I'm open for business there. If you guys want to jump up a couple spots.
I want to jump to certain teams. Again, I'm the Broncos. I want a certain position. I will offer one of my third rounders to go from 11 to 15.
Okay. Yeah, and I won't give up. I'm not giving up a day 3 pick for you, though.
Oh, no deal. No. We'll go 11 for 15, and we'll go 83. We'll in the middle of the. Oh, they've got 3 third rounders. I thought they only had 2. They had 3. So yeah, lots of ammo they've got. Again, if you're willing to package one of them to get your top receiver, I think that's more than fine. Oh.
Who turned it down? Did I turn it down?
I turned it down. I guess we're gonna have to just switch. We'll switch the teams.
Just throw an extra third in there or something. Like we're not going 3 rounds, so just throw an extra third or something.
I think we got it this way. We're circumventing
Congratulations.
the software.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, so I think the receiver one for this team, and I think the guy who could be the best complement to Cortland Sutton here, we're going kind of, again, the Robin to his Batman. I think it's pretty clear here, and that's Henry Ruggs.
Yes.
We're talking about an elite deep threat. I know the production. I know his market share wasn't great. I know he never had a higher than 20% dominator rating. I know all this stuff, but he's such a good player. And again, he's more than just your prototypical burner. He's got some of the best hands in the class, and he's got like huge hands as well. Like his strength through contact is great. I think his route nuance, I think, is better than people are giving him credit for. He's not really Jerry Jeudy in that aspect, but he's still more than good enough. And again, the speed is one thing, and with the way the NFL game is headed, we've seen the first receivers in the last couple of drafts, like Will Fuller, Hollywood Brown, all these guys going as receiver one are these burners, are these speed types. So I think Henry Ruggs is even better than those guys were, and I think he should be selected as such.
Absolutely.
When you look at go ahead.
I was gonna say he's my wide receiver one, and I haven't been quiet about that. Since September. I just think, what he does is so elite. His suddenness, his quickness, his speed. But when you throw on top of that he has good hands, he's pretty tough after the catch. He runs through contact. And I think he's a pretty good route runner too. He's not Jerry Jeudy level route runner, but he's a pretty good route runner too. And I just don't see a guy with many weaknesses at all. And when you put that with someone like Cortland Sutton, and Cortland Sutton is a superstar. I mean, I have watched maybe 4 of his games last year, and it's incredible how good he is. And when you throw a guy like Ruggs next to him, and you can't ask for a much better situation for Drew Lock. I mean, obviously they need to keep building the offensive line a little bit, but man, that is just a great 1-2 punch to have there for a young quarterback. So yeah, I love the Ruggs pick, and hopefully draft day, I hope that this kind of scenario plays out that they get Ruggs, because that would just be a great duo.
Well, and again, that offensive line needs a bit of building as well. But again, they hired Mike Munchak this past offseason, who's one of the best O-line coaches in the game. So if he can kind of just coach up some of the guys they have there, they don't necessarily have to take one super high.
Yeah, if Garrett Bowles can just figure out how not to hold and keep his stance, they'll be fine. But when you look at what Ruggs can do to this offense, I mean, just the fact that, the deep threat aspect, like in an offense, like when you look at the Texans and you consider what Will Fuller does on the field, I mean, Zach and Carter, both you guys, have written for Stampede Blue. You know what Will Fuller does to this offense for the Texans.
Yep.
Henry Ruggs does that exactly. You're going to keep the safeties back because you have to account for them, which then, again, opens up in the run game. So it does all sorts of things for this Broncos offense. And we've also seen that their quarterback likes to throw downfield, and now he has another target to do it with.
Yeah. So my hot take before we get to the next question here, or next pick here, is if Ruggs somehow ends up in Denver and Locke at least is an average quarterback, I think Sutton leads the league in receiving yards next year. My hot take.
I like Sutton a lot. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
So good. He's insane. Like it's unreal how good he is. I mean, I was like taken back. Like, and I watched DeAndre Hopkins, and obviously Hopkins just does things that Sutton doesn't do just because he's a veteran. He's so good. But just Sutton's explosiveness, his speed, his ability to go up and just fight through traffic. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, I think he's a top 10 receiver in the league right now, and I think if he had a guy like Ruggs keeping safeties back and stuff, and he could just dominate that middle game, that intermediate game, watch out. I mean, I would say the NFL should watch out if they get Ruggs.
Yeah, no, I would agree 100%. Okay, so next up is the Atlanta Falcons, and that would be me.
Whoa. Is it Falcons?
No.
Did you trade up with Snow?
No.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
Nice.
I'm sorry, the Jags. I'm going to stop looking at the spreadsheet. I'm just going to look at the screen.
All right. So we've got Jags on the board again. They need everything. I will take offers.
What picks do the Bucks have? Because I have someone that I'm targeting for the Bucks. Let me see.
I think I know who you're targeting, but yeah, that'd be a good target.
You know what? The Bills would potentially like to move up.
You don't have many yet. Yeah.
From where?
Oh, that's right. It's not updated, is it?
I was like, man, where the Bills are moving all the way up from like pick 60 all the way up to the front.
They're climbing up the board.
Yeah, we put this together. I guess I put this together before the Stephon Diggs trade.
So the Bucks are 3 picks away from you, I think, right now. Right? They're at 14.
Yep.
Yes.
And what are we at? We're at 12.
So it really would be a flip.
I don't even know if there's a reason to. Like, who the Jags are going to have. What are they going to go? They're going to go defensive end. They're going to go Kinlaw, maybe.
Jags could go anywhere, virtually.
Yeah,
anywhere.
but who's the pick after? Isn't it Niners after this though?
Yeah, it's Niners.
Yeah, so I want to jump ahead of the Niners. I will give you 14, 117, and a 4th next year.
Yeah, deal. I'm assuming you're going for probably one of Kinlaw or Judy or Thomas, but yeah, I'm making that.
All right. Cool. So just 2 spots up, and you get 2 fourths out of it.
You know what? We're just gonna assume the fourths were. Oh, why?
Yeah, you can put both fourths, from this class, like whatever. I mean, we're not going that deep.
We're gonna assume the fourths were dealt, and Niners, 49ers. Can I? Oh, very top. Nope, very top. 13, and we'll throw.
Oh, it's not Niners. It's Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm jumping the Niners.
Yes.
Yep, you're good.
There we go. And we'll throw in. We'll just go 6th. It's more than the 6th, but just for the purposes of this.
It's whatever. Yeah. All right. You guys ready for this offense I'm creating here with Tampa?
Oh,
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Holy.
So Tampa Bay jumped the Niners so we could take Jerry Jeudy with the 12th pick. And my thought process with this is you have Tom Brady. I think he signed a 3-year deal. And, you just have to maximize that value while you have it, while you have Tom Brady. And the offensive line definitely could use some work. And, Andrew Thomas would be a good pick here as well. But, they brought in Joe Haig to kind of compete at right tackle. I think they have a decent enough offensive line where someone like Brady can still make it work because he gets the ball out so quick. And just, you already have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard. Why not just add more to that offense and make it just this powerhouse? And adding a slot receiver in Jerry Jeudy where he can win almost every route off the line of scrimmage. He'll never get bracket coverage. He'll never have to be on the outside. He can just sit right there in the slot with off-man coverage and just eat all day. So, I think adding that dynamic to that offense with already 2, top-tier receivers, I think that can make that offense deadly. And you can maximize that Super Bowl window that you have with Brady for these next 3 years.
I also think when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like you're right, like they have every other position going in offense. Like if you can add, how important the slot receiver is to Tom Brady. If you can add a player of that caliber to that offense, given you only have probably a 2 to 3 year window, most likely 2 with Tom Brady, you have to take advantage of it and just jump right in.
Yeah, I mean, you're in win now mode. And I know Godwin played a lot of slot snaps last year, but you can easily just boot him to the outside. And again, he's not kind of the type of slot that Brady's had success with. Judy's more in that Edelman mold.
Yep.
Kind of as that ankle breaker, game breaker from the slot. So more so of a luxury pick, but at the same time necessary to get Brady the weapons he needs. And if they can like pair that up with like Clyde Edwards-Helaire in round 2 or something, they're cooking.
We're just going all offense. We don't care about the defense here in Tampa anymore.
Why should you?
Why not? We'll just outscore teams. Screw it.
Yeah.
All right. Next pick is Niners, I believe, and I want to jump them because I know they need a receiver. So that's where I was thinking there.
They do need a receiver, and I'm not open for business, so I'm actually good here. When you look at the Niners, they're stout on defense. They could probably use a corner. They could probably use a safety as well. But at the end of the day, when you look at what that offense is and what happened in the Super Bowl, they basically have one target, and then they have Deebo Samuel. So they have Kittle and Samuel, but outside of that, they have no true outside threat. So for me, I'm going to go wide receiver. Oh, God, it's so hard to see the screen on who's available. There we go. I'm going to go Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
I just think that when you look at what this team needs, like there's not a lot. Like they could go tackle if they wanted to potentially, keep the farm up, right? Because you don't know what next year's draft class is going to look like for tackles. The corner, you could take a corner here or a safety, like I said, but they need another reliable target outside, and I just don't know if they have the ability to really be creative on offense without it. And we've seen when they feed Kittle, if you're able to contain Kittle outside of that, and then Deebo Samuel, I really think that they need another option. And I'm not a big fan of Jimmy G. I think he's an average quarterback, but I think when you have an average quarterback, you need to give him weapons. And if you're able to, you go ahead and do it.
Yeah. So my addition here is I love Justin Jefferson. I think he's, a fringe first round guy, probably, he's going to go probably round 1 come draft time. And my grade's going to be like a, round 1, round 2 type grade, like kind of late round 1 type of grade. And, I think this is a really interesting fit here because I think Jefferson is best kind of in the slot. And I think where he can, work off those off coverages and he can kind of, work his type of, his Euro step, his reading leverage and finding openings. And I think that's a very interesting fit with the Niners. It's something I haven't really thought of because, you're going to a team like the Niners where they're so run heavy and they're so dependent on, just gashing you with these big runs. I think it'd be a really interesting fit, having Deebo on the outside and having Jefferson being able to beat guys over the middle and maybe even switching them around a little bit and kind of utilizing how both of them kind of have that versatility. So it's definitely not a fit I really thought of just because, I think 13 might be a little bit early for him, but I think it's a really interesting fit, and I think it probably could. I mean, it definitely could go really well with how good their run game is, with having Kittle and with having Deebo. I think adding a player like Jefferson who can do kind of a little bit different those two because he's not as like explosive as them, but he kind of has that quickness and that shiftiness and to kind of win in that short intermediate game. I think that's a really interesting fit there.
Yeah, you're not going to find a bigger Justin Jefferson fan than me. The way he's able to work in zones, the spatial awareness, just everything about him screams kind of that perfect complementary receiver. I've made the Robert Woods comp for a while, and I'm sticking by that. I love that comparison. Again, not the highest upside guy. He's struggled a bit working with press and more physical corners, but you give him time and space, and he's great. I'd imagine in San Fran, he'd kind of be operating like Emmanuel Sanders just left. I'd imagine he'd operate kind of a similar role and just take over his role in the slot. And again, I think he's definitely best used in the slot. I think he can play outside if needed, but again, primarily in the slot. Perfect complementary receiver, the number 2 to Deebo's number 1. At 13, I don't know if that value necessarily is great because of that, but he's a high floor prospect who can contribute right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I look at that offense and how creative Kyle Shanahan can be when you think of what he can do with Jefferson and with Debo. I just think it's an interesting pairing, and I think it gives them a ton of options on the offensive side.
Yeah, no, I like it for sure. All right, so who we got next here? We got is it Jaguars again?
Yep.
Oh, first time. We've been trading back.
You want more day 3 picks? We can see who can jump up and give you more day 3 picks.
Honestly, we'll take it because I have 2 options and I don't want to decide between the 2 because it's tricky. So I'm hoping someone else will take one of them, so then I won't have to. Yeah, if anyone actually wants to trade up, again, it seemed like a joke, but no, I am open for business.
Let's see. I think I'm the Jets, like 1 pick behind you, and then I'm Cowboys, and then it's far off. So let me see here because Cowboys might be interesting. Cowboys.
I was going to say.
I think I know who you're targeting at 15, so I could hold you for ransom if I think you want.
Well, I also think the Falcons and the Cowboys could be potentially looking at the same player.
Yeah, that's true. Let's say, man, that's tough. Because Jets, I think I'm okay because they just have so many needs. Like, there's a guy I want, but they could go so many other players just to, still kind of fill out. So I'm okay with where they're at. I think I'm okay with the Cowboys too. So I'm going to say where I am. So as of right now, with where I am. So James, do you want to trade up at all, like Falcons or anything?
No. Nope, I'm good.
Yeah,
right.
I'm good to make my selection. Might be a bit of a shocker here, but I am going to go. Yes, music first. I'm going to go with Javon Kinlaw, South Carolina. So him and Derek Brown, no secret, those 2 are the top interior defensive linemen by a long shot. I love Neville Gallimore, but he's more of a late first, second round type guy. Brown to me, better right now, better run defender. I think Kinlaw's got more upside, especially more pass rush upside. I think he's more worthy of selection as high. That's nothing against Derek Brown. Film-wise, he's probably a top 5 player in this class. It's just positional value. Where do you rank him? And that's kind of a tricky question. To me, he's like a DJ Reader type, right? Like elite nose tackle who just got paid on the open market by Cincy. But there's a reason the team that had him didn't want to retain him for that salary, right? So impact compared between those players, I think Kinlaw a little riskier, but I think he's got the higher upside, and I think he's more worthy of a selection this early.
Yeah, for sure. James, you wanna jump on that?
I mean, Kinlaw's just a monster. I'm in love with everything that he does. I think that's a great player to build on, gives you an anchor on the defense, given how that defensive line looks now with the departure likely of Ngakoue, Calais Campbell gone. There's no reason for you to not take a player like Kinlaw, especially at this pick. You've traded back far enough. You've added more value to the later rounds. Like, grab a player that you can build that defensive line around, and Kinlaw is that person, in my opinion. Yeah,
the only thing I could add is, they might have taken Kinlaw at, wherever their original pick was. I think, 8
Correct.
or 9? So,
no, I was going to take him at 9 if no one did trade there.
Yeah.
He would have been my target, so.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's just a great fit for them. And in a division like the AFC South, you kind of need those interior pass rushers. The Titans have a stout offensive line that just loves to run the ball. The Colts were, a top, I think they were the 7th rushing team in the NFL last year. So you really need that interior presence to kind of, stop these run-heavy teams in the AFC South until you get to the Texans. Texans don't really have that run-heavy team, but, especially for the Titans and Colts. So, yeah, I think adding a guy like Kinlaw, I think that's just a good fit for him.
Yep, I would agree. All right, so next up would be the Atlanta Falcons at number. Oh no, is it the
Jets?
Jets.
You keep wanting the Falcons on.
I want to pick.
Yeah, no, I get it. So I'll make this one quick for you because this is a guy that I targeted when I was trading back for the Jets, and I think this is just kind of a no-brainer for them at this point. I'm going to go with the top tackle available, which is Andrew Thomas. Sam Darnold has not had much help since he's entered the NFL, and you could argue that he's kind of regressed throughout his career just because of that. There's a lot of factors, Adam Gase just being who he is and them not really building an offensive line around him and also not really putting a great receiver core around him. It's been a lot of factors, but I think, you got to take that first step to really building something around him and really protecting him. And, they shelled out a lot of money on the offensive line, not really to guys who are long-term solutions, a lot of guys who are kind of, plug and play. Hopefully they're decent this year compared to what they had. I think getting a guy like Andrew Thomas, plugging him at that left tackle spot, and at least getting, I think Thomas is going to give you above average play right away. I think he's a really solid tackle. I think just adding him to that line and protecting, your quarterback that you traded up for a couple of years ago, protecting his blind side for the next couple of years. I think that's just a really good fit.
I also think the biggest thing with the Jets is just no matter what tackle you take in this draft, you're likely upgrading. Yeah. But you're also getting a solid player that's going to be able to protect Darnold, which he hasn't had. And on top of the fact that you traded for Darnold, you've just never been able to give him anything to work with since he's been in the league. And we're talking about a top prospect that was in the draft 3 years ago now, and hasn't been able to produce. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the organization just hasn't surrounded him with what he needs to be able to produce. I'm still a big believer in Sam Darnold. I've been a big believer in Sam Darnold. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a guy that if they're not able to put the pieces around him, he ends up on another team and doesn't negotiate another contract with the Jets, because they've truly failed what he needs and what he should be getting. And when you can protect him, you have to. And this is the draft class to do it. I mean, you could go wide receiver, but at the end of the day, like he's shown enough that if he has average options, he's okay. Yeah. But when he doesn't have a protection, there's nothing he can do.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this one. I would, at 11, if he was on the board, like I'd gladly walk to the podium and take him at 11 as well. Mm-hmm. Again, it's such an elite tackle class that he kind of gets forgotten about.
Yep.
But he's almost as good as them. He probably is as good as them. It's just he's not quite the athlete and doesn't have quite the upside of some of these other guys. But you look at his film, he put on a clinic against K'Lavon Chaisson against LSU earlier this year, and he's kind of just a plug-and-play guy from the left side. He's had experience on both sides. I just think very low bust potential with him, and I think you know what you're getting right away.
Yep, definitely.
I agree.
So, are we finally at the Falcons pick?
Okay, so next up is the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not open for business. I know exactly where I'm going. Oh.
Welcome to Texans Unfiltered.
Wrong button.
Welcome.
I'm 6 years in, so.
Unfiltered.
Here we go.
Houston Football Podcast for your Houston Texans.
So
Welcome
maybe drinking wasn't the best idea if I had to throw it out there. To be 6 years in, and it's only been, how long have we been talking? For an hour?
An hour. Yeah.
So, I don't know if that's a good ratio to have, but, with the Atlanta Falcons, I think we saw with the departure of Vic Beasley, they could go corner here as well, but I think they need edge rushers extremely bad. They're in a good position to be able to add one that could instantly help them. So I would go K'Lavon Chaisson out of LSU.
I like it. Yeah, I don't have much to say here. I will say one thing, a lot of people, they look at his size and you look at he wears like a small number, he wears number 18. So you kind of look at him and you don't really think he's going to be this great run defender. And I'm not saying he's an elite run defender, but he's very powerful at the point of attack. And he's a very just energetic, strong player that really punches tackles and anyone who kind of tries to block him there in run defense. So I don't really think, like a lot of guys who are like that quote unquote undersized pass rusher, I don't think he's a lot like them, because I think he's a pretty solid run defender. I think he's a really strong player at the point of attack. He definitely has a lot of growing to do. I don't think he even had 10 career sacks at LSU, but the traits are there, the energy's there, the athleticism's there. So I definitely think this could be a pick that turns out to be better than what it is. It's definitely a high risk, high reward type of pick, but when you're a team like the Falcons, you really kind of need to take some chances like that and hit on a player. So I think taking a chance on a guy like Chaisson here, and I think that's a good pick for him.
I'm a sucker for players with elite bend and elite flexibility on the edge, and he's got both those in spades. I'm glad you mentioned the run defending, because I think he's a lot better in that aspect as well than most people assume. This isn't I love Brian Burns, but he's better in this aspect than Brian Burns. I think he wins similarly to actually Jadeveon Clowney in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned the sack totals. Jadeveon Clowney doesn't put up huge sack totals as well. He only had 3 this past season, but he impacts the game in so many other ways. Great run defender himself, very explosive at the point of attack. And I think kind of he's going to have most of his success kind of using athleticism, whether it be kind of on stunts or on the outside, and just kind of using his flexibility and his athleticism to the best of their abilities.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. All right.
Cowboys.
Getting to the Cowboys. And, I grew up a Redskins fan, so I'm looking at best backup kicker options here. They just signed Greg the Leg. And, yeah, I think there's a couple good backup kickers. The Cowboys is interesting here because, they have a team that's ready to compete now. And they have a couple holes, obviously, especially from guys that just lost in free agency. But there was one guy, even though I'm not super high on him, I think he's just a good fit for what they are kind of going to be missing. So I'm going to go with C.J. Henderson, corner from Florida. And to preface why I'm not very high on him, when I watch his film, you see this complete freak. I mean, he is an absolute freak as an athlete, and he showed that at the combine too. I mean, he's an absolute freak. And I just think sometimes with college corners who are as freaky as him, you kind of lose a lot in technique. And, that was something that when I was talking with Antonio Cromartie the other day, we were kind of really talking about with him was, he's not a very technical corner right now. He allows a lot of free releases. He opens his hips when he shouldn't be. He kind of allows things to be too easy for receivers. But when you have that closing speed and you have that ability to kind of shuffle and mirror so easily, I think this is a pick that you can take that chance because he does have true shutdown corner potential. And I think that he could really be that for the Cowboys, for a team that just lost Byron Jones, who was that shutdown corner for them. So he definitely has some areas to grow. And I think, obviously with the tackling, that was a big issue that was brought out the whole year. He can be a little bit more physical. But, overall, I think he has a little bit more developing to do, but you have a guy who can be that number one corner and really shut down guys. And I think that's the big thing that you're looking for, especially at pick, 17 now. I think that's just great value for him.
Yeah, I think given their loss in free agency, it just makes the most sense. When you look at Henderson and you think about the cornerback position, his recovery burst is probably one of the biggest things that I like about his game. And really at this point, you're going best player available given kind of who's on the board, and you're also able to address a need. So I don't see a reason why C.J. Henderson wouldn't be a good fit. And really, honestly, you don't have any other corners.
Yeah. Jordan Lewis is fine.
Yeah, I mean, this one's similar to kind of the chase on pick as in kind of athlete that you're projecting the tools at the next level, right? So Henderson definitely relied on that athleticism at the college level, and he's not going to be able to get away with the same things he did. But you have that physical profile, you have that size, and you have that speed, you have that coverage ability, and that kind of number one corner potential. You're going to be taking first round every single day of the week, especially in a league that's getting shorter and shorter on good corners. And also the Cowboys, I don't know what they were doing getting rid of Byron Jones, but they got rid of him, so now you got to replace him.
Yep, definitely. So we're up to Bengals now, right? Because this is the pick that we traded here. So that's you, James. Bengals are on again.
I'm actually open for business. So if there's anybody that has ideas on who they're targeting.
I got Patriots at 23, which is not too far away.
No.
Do the Patriots like Jordan Love?
Perhaps. And Patriots have a ton of comp picks as well. Like always. Carter, you want to move up with any of your guys?
I'm debating. I am debating. Let me just check these picks for a second. I wouldn't give up much, but I'd give up 27. Seattle. I'd give up that. I'd give up a third. And I'd give up a fourth. So 1, 3, and a 4.
Doesn't Seattle have 2 twos?
They do. I don't want to give either of those 2 twos.
It's a really big jump.
What numbers are you offering pick-wise, with the third and fourth?
101. I'm just checking right now. 101 and 133.
Wouldn't be enough.
Okay.
I'll give you.
I think I'm content. I don't know.
23, 100, and 125.
I'll take it.
Okay, cool. So that's the Patriots, Carter. Just for when you're putting it in here.
I'll give you. I'll give. Okay. I'll give you 27 and.
Oh, is he going to give the second?
Just give me one of the twos, and you got a deal.
Is it worth it? Is it worth it?
Are you going to give him a day 3 pick back, though, is the real question.
Sure, I'll give you
Honestly,
a 7.
It's gotta be a 6. No. No, I'll let you go ahead. This is gonna pay me because I know who you're gonna take, but no. Yeah, go ahead with your trade.
So 23, 100, and 125 for 18.
Okay.
Cool.
We're all relying on Carter to have to do all this.
Right.
Poor guy.
We've got.
He's an intern. This is what they have him for.
I guess that's true.
This is what interns are for, honestly.
We've got, and I'll just put picks in because.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
It's getting a little late anyway. We probably won't get to round 2 tonight, but maybe next time we can get into the round 2.
We're taking this.
All right. So, what we are doing with this pick, I think it's fairly obvious that we're trading up for a quarterback here, and I don't think Jordan Love would be successful in every single team, but I think going to the Patriots, I think that just the kind of what they have with that team, development wise, they have coaching wise, Josh McDaniels. For everything I don't like about the guy, because we cover the Colts here. For everything he is a good offensive play caller, so he can make things simpler for a guy like Jordan Love. And you don't even need to start him right away. You can throw Brian Hoyer out there all year, go 0-16 and get a trillion picks for Trevor Lawrence, or even take Trevor Lawrence, whatever. You can go so many different routes with this, but I think getting someone so high upside as Jordan Love, where, watching the LSU game, for instance, last year, he was 13 of 30, I think, with 3 picks. If you look just at that stat line, it looks terrible. But when you watch the game, he's dropping dime after dime down the field. His players aren't making plays, whatever the instance is. But he just has it. He has that arm talent. He has the ability to throw with anticipation. He has every little thing you look for trait-wise. It's just, decision-making, footwork, kind of little nuances that he really needs to improve on. So I think going to a team like New England and really not giving up that much. I didn't give up that much to move up to get him, just some, compensatory picks to get a guy like Jordan Love, who's very just high potential. I think getting a guy like him is just perfect for them.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Patriots, they need somebody there, right? The answer for the fan base can't be Brian Hoyer, and it can't be
Jarrett Stidham
right now. So if you show the fan base just to excite them a little bit that you guys are really looking at the position, you're taking a guy who does have high upside that's able to drop dimes when needed. He has decent footwork. And then if not, and you run with Brian Hoyer, like you said, you have the first pick overall. You could literally, for Trevor Lawrence, probably get a king's ransom. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now he's just really like a piece of clay right now that you got to mold. But it depends on the team, and New England is a great team and a great fit. There's no better developer than Bill Belichick, and you'd have to think that'd be a great fit for him.
Definitely. So now we got Carter with 3 straight picks here. So we're just gonna hear Carter
all right.
read us a lullaby here, basically.
Okay. Raiders, I'm sprinting to the podium here. I know corner is also kind of a bit of a need right now, but we erased linebacker with Corey Littleton, so we've got that. We don't need to reach for Patrick Queen or Kenneth Murray now. We're sprinting. We're getting Derek Brown.
Nice.
It's a good pick. Best player available. no reason to really discredit the pick. Addresses a need at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add. I mean, Derek Brown, obviously early on in the process, we all had him, as top 10 player, top 15 player and such. And when you have an historically awful combine like he did, obviously there's reason to drop. But, when you turn on the film, you just see this physically dominant guy. I mean, the other day I was watching the LSU film because I was about to interview Damian Lewis, the guard from LSU, who, he'll probably be like a third or fourth round guy, maybe even sneak into the second. And, Lewis, the super powerful guard, and Derek Brown's just tossing him around the whole first half. And Lloyd Cushenberry, too, who might be first or second interior offensive lineman taking this class. I mean, those are two NFL caliber guys that Brown was just tearing through and tossing all over the place. And honestly, Auburn had a good chance to win that game against what some people are calling, the best college football team of all time because Brown was so disruptive early in that game. So I just think, obviously the athleticism is not there, and that does limit his ceiling, and it's tough to take, an interior tackle that's not super athletic, but he's just so disruptive. He's so strong. He's so powerful. I think that's a great pick, best player available right there for the Raiders. All right. Are the Jaguars finally going to pick? Oh, wait, no, they already picked earlier. They picked earlier. Yeah, they have 1,000 picks in this class now. I thought he kept trading back.
I was. We are going to get ourselves. It's a strong safety class, but we're going to jump ahead and we're going to grab our guy first here. We're going to go after Antoine Winfield Jr. here.
Ooh, okay.
Little high for him. Medicals will be big for him. And with this whole virus thing, he might not be able to get checked out by every team, and that might hurt him on draft day with the medicals. But we're talking about a guy here with elite instincts at the position. Very good athleticism. I wouldn't say like elite athleticism, but enough athleticism for sure. And very few players in this class have the type of range he has. Kind of the best package here of all things, kind of considering Ronnie Harrison already has that box safety role locked down for them. Xavier McKinney I'd rate higher kind of in a vacuum, but I think Antoine Winfield's the better fit here. There's no corner I love either at this point. And receiver, like if Justin Jefferson was there, I'd love to take him there. But linebacker isn't the need now either with Joe Schobert coming in. So I think safety, defensive back, that's where their need is. Winfield Jr. can be a plug-and-play guy there.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to really debate. I mean, it fills a hole, gives them the guy to build around in the secondary that is fully depleted now with Bouye and Jalen Ramsey gone. Kind of gives them that commander-in-chief in the back end. It's a solid pick.
Yeah, and I like Winfield Jr. I don't think I like him this much to go this high, but everything you kind of said is correct there. He has that range, he has that ability to kind of flip his hips and get anywhere. I mean, we saw it. I think it was the end of the Fresno State game, game-winning interception he made where he flipped his hips effortlessly, got back to the outside, and sealed their game, sealed the victory there in overtime by getting that interception. You just kind of see that all over his film. He makes a lot of plays like that. Very aggressive coming downhill as well, which is awesome to see from a safety. So yeah, I have little flaws with him. Obviously, the medical is one thing, and also I think he misses a couple tackles here and there, and just some little things here. But getting this value here at pick 20, I think especially with the fit, like you said, next to Ronnie Harrison, I think this is just a really good pick for him. So yeah, I don't really have too many issues with him going 20 at all.
All right, so next on the board is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, well, receiver at this point, I could go Mims. I could go receiver, and I know receiver's the desperate need. Like, if Jefferson was there, I'd be running there. But I don't like the value here. We're going to revisit that in round 2. It's a deep receiver class. Right here, we need speed on the defensive side of the ball. Malcolm Jenkins is gone. We're not going to go safety, but we're going to go kind of in that box role. We're going to take Patrick Queen.
Oof.
He's got some developing to do. He's kind of inconsistent right now, kind of with vision and trusting his keys and stuff. But elite blitzer right now, elite click and close ability. That athleticism will translate right away. And Nigel Bradham isn't getting any younger. He can be an eventual replacement for him. And right now, kind of just, Nathan Gary shouldn't be taking snaps at all. So Patrick Queen, at the very least, could take some snaps away from him and play a bit of an impact on defense.
Yep, no, I agree. I think it's a solid pick. It addresses a need.
I love Patrick Queen. I think he's so fun to watch. I mean, just the intensity that he plays with and his closing speed, along with, he's looking for contact, which is great. And you could really see his development throughout the course of last year. Week one, those early weeks, he was kind of struggling a lot with his keys and such. And then as, the season progressed, he got late in the season. You really saw a really strong linebacker there for, a defense that got better late in the year. I think Patrick Queen with his upside and also, he's still learning, but I think he has just sky high potential. And I think going to a team like Philly, where they're going to have that elite defensive line, they've had that rebuilt cornerback group that they just put together. I just think that's a great fit for him, and he's going to really dominate there.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're on James' pick now. Is it Vikings? Are you?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. You're Vikings.
Correct. And I'm not open for business, as I understand exactly what my need would be. We just traded Stephon Diggs. We got a lot back, more than what the Texans got back for the best wide receiver in the league. So, no, I think with this pick, it's pretty simple. We need to add some speed to wide receiver. So wide receiver Denzel Mims out of Baylor.
I like it. Yeah, I like Mims.
I just think when you look at this offense, you have Dalvin Cook, obviously, who, when he's on the field is a dynamic running back. You still have Adam Thielen. When you add a guy like Denzel Mims to this offense, takes coverage away from Thielen, able to give him some more targets. I just think Denzel Mims is the type of wide receiver that really would flourish in this offense, especially now with Gary Kubiak taking over offensive coordinator duties. I think this is like the ideal pick for the Vikings in this draft.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to add is, I'm not.
He's the best. He was the best. He was the best receiver at the senior.
I think Carter's.
You go ahead. My bad.
I think Carter's on a little bit of a delay, so we'll start talking, and then it'll just he'll come flying in, or maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just on a delay or something. I'm not too sure, but the one thing I want to say about Mims is I'm not super high on him. I think that you have the athleticism, you have that willingness to be a run blocker, which I talked to him down at the Senior Bowl, and he was so excited to talk about that. He loves talking about his run blocking, and that'll really fit with Minnesota. You kind of need those receivers to kind of seal the outside there, so I think that's a great fit there. The one thing I'm kind of concerned about is his overall consistency with his hands. I think he drops a lot of easy ones. I don't think his route tree is really defined yet. I think he's kind of a slant or go type of guy right now, which is fine. I mean, we saw that with DK Metcalf last year, and he had a lot of success in Seattle. So I definitely think he's a bit raw, but I think if you have a good plan for him in terms of what you're going to do and what you're going to ask of him in year one, and you're going to ask him to be more of a complimentary guy rather than the number one, which Minnesota can do, I think round one is a good spot for him. I think the Vikings are a good spot for him.
Well, I mean, I agree with the hands thing completely. I think those are kind of an issue that needs to be talked about. But the route tree is difficult because it's like, well, how much he was asked to run basically fades and streaks and slants at Baylor, right? So how much is that can he do, or how much is that is he being asked to do, right? So a lot of it's kind of just usage based, and I'm not sure. At the Senior Bowl, he looked like a solid route runner to me, and he looked like the best receiver there. So that box to me, it's not checked because he didn't do it a lot in college, but at the same time, he wasn't asked to do it a lot. So we kind of just don't know. It's kind of just a question mark as opposed to a negative.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing I'll add with the route tree concerns there is, you're right. I mean, he wasn't asked to do much, and that's always a concern with a lot of these Big 12 receivers, and especially Baylor. Baylor's the main culprit with this kind of stuff. For me though, so much of development comes from 18 years old to 22 years old, like he is. He's 22 years old. You need so much development in there, and he's kind of going to be coming to the NFL like a step behind, I think, because he didn't really get a lot of experience, a lot of training, a lot of working at running a lot of different routes and being very nuanced in his route tree. It's not saying that he can't do it. Obviously, he very well could do it. Like you're saying, it's not a box you can't check off or say that he can't do. It's just he's going to be a little bit behind the curve there. But again, I love the pick with the Vikings. And I think he's a very, very good complement for Thielen there.
I also think when you look at what Gary Kubiak looks for in his wide receivers, like Gary Kubiak was in Houston for a long time, so he literally only had Kevin Walter at wide receiver for 7 years because he could run block. Mm-hmm. And I think when you have a wide receiver that is willing to run block is a lot different than a wide receiver who can run block. especially with having Dalvin Cook in the backfield. I think this is a very interesting pick, and it gives them time to also to be able to develop Denzel Mims. I mean, we saw Will Fuller come into the league, and he had a case of the drops just as bad as anybody else, any other wide receiver that was taken in the first round, and he seemed to correct those issues. I think just practice and good coaching, I think you could probably correct that. And if you can, you're adding a guy who is going to take the top off of your defense. I also think the route tree, I don't think it's as big of a deal when you look at the Baylor offense and what they did. He wasn't asked to run all 9 routes, so I think it's a little bit different. But I think this is a very good pick given the situation that the Vikings were in and that they have another pick in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Okay, so now the Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. What defensive ends do we have available?
Ibaneza, he's there.
There you go. Fantastic. I thought he was taken.
No, he's there.
So I mean, I'm open for business if there's anybody that's looking for an edge rusher. But with the Bengals not addressing the quarterback position this year, kind of going value and trying to add other pieces to the team, and potentially targeting another quarterback in the second round, I think adding an edge rusher would be a big piece of what they are looking to do. They already got DJ Reader. They have Geno Atkins. They already took Isaiah Simmons. So really the best thing that they could do is take a defensive lineman. But if there's anybody that's willing to or wanting to trade, let me know.
Yeah, so I have 3 more picks left. I have Dolphins, Titans, and Chiefs, and I feel good with where I am with those 3. So I think I'm good for now.
Yeah, I've just got New Orleans and Green Bay. Oh, and Baltimore. But yeah, I'm good as well.
Cool.
Then with the 23rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals take AJ Espinoza out of Iowa.
Nice.
I think when you look at this team and obviously I threw the draft off completely by not taking Burrow, right? When you look at the draft now and how it's built, at this point you're going to go best player available at a position of need. They really don't have an edge rusher. If you could add that with Atkins and with DJ Reader now being there in the middle, you have Isaiah Simmons on the backside. Why would you not take a guy who could easily give you the ability to be able to get after the quarterback, who's quick off his first step? Maybe a little bit of development needed for sure. Doesn't look like on first contact he's able to shed blocks as quick as you would like, but he's a solid player, and I would say, given the position of need, a good pick here at 23.
Yeah, I like their edge group that they're going to have in this scenario because, Dunlap is a guy who's been doing it for a long time. Very powerful guy, and same with Carl Lawson. He's had the inconsistency with injuries throughout his career, but again, a very powerful, nuanced guy. And with Ibanez, you'd be bringing in another guy who's very powerful, very nuanced. Ability to rush the passer, not with really bend or elite athleticism, but with that nuance, the hand quickness, the strength. So I think having all 3 of those guys, we always talk about having like that thunder and lightning, 2 different types of guys and stuff, like running back groups and edge rushers. You want 2 different types of guys, but I think having a bunch of guys to do the same thing, but they do it really, really well, I think that can also have its benefits as well. So I think having a trio of Dunlap and Lawson and Ibanez, I think that's a pretty fun trio right there.
Yeah, this argument is kind of similar to the Derek Brown one because, we'll trust the tape versus kind of the combine and the athleticism. Espinoza, combine, very, 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 very poor. But again, he wasn't a great athlete on tape either, and he still dominated despite that. So again, with him, you're looking at power and hand usage. You're not looking at bend and flexibility. Kind of the anti-Caleb Von Chason, if you will. But a solid pick here. I don't think he goes first round on draft day just because of kind of the athleticism, and I think teams will be wary about that. But a good pick. And also in the Bengals pass rush group as well, they've got Sam Hubbard too, who can be a decent rotational piece. So definitely a lot of pieces there. They would have a front 4, fearsome front 4, and Simmons in the back end, and really nice combo on defense.
Definitely. All right, who we got next here? We got Carter with the Seahawks, I think, right?
Saints, right?
Saints. Yeah. Who's Saints?
Carter.
Carter's.
Yep. I'm New Orleans. We really don't have many needs. New Orleans.
That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah. Theoretically, they could go anywhere here. They just re-signed Andrews Pete to a big contract, so I don't think I'm going to go interior O-line, even though Cesar Ruiz would have been a nice pick. I think I'm going to go defense, and I think I'm going to go corner and take Jeff Gladney here. A bit on the small side, but love his intensity, his instincts, his backpedal quickness at CB. He played CeeDee Lamb really well this year. I thought he was really feisty in that game and played well. I think he's kind of ideally suited for more of a nickel role than an outside role at the next level. We're talking again, that backpedal really sticks out to me, just elite backpedaler, great foot quickness. And at the combine as well, you saw the fluid hips, and you kind of just see him move at a different level than a lot of these other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you're taking shots on corners in the first round, having these guys who are not only great athletes, which Gladney is, but also have that kind of tenacity and that dog mentality. And I think that's what Gladney really brings that is, kind of puts him above and beyond and gets him into that first round conversation. So, when you're going best player available here, like the Saints are, and getting a guy like Gladney, I think is just great value there.
Yeah, when you can add him, pair him with Marshawn Lattimore, I think it's a great pick. It makes a ton of sense. Okay, so next up would be the Minnesota Vikings, and there are needs, but they're more on the outside on the offensive line. But given the fact that the value is here, unless anybody's wanting to trade up, I think guard Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan would be the ideal fit.
Yeah, I like it. Yep, that's a good one.
I just think when you look at how they want to play, you want a physical guard. With Dalvin Cook in the backfield, Gary Kubiak is going to set up with play action. They're going to run Dalvin Cook as much as possible. This gives you the ability to be able to pound as much as you can in the middle of the offensive line and the interior. This is a great pick.
Yeah. Carter, you want to jump in?
I guess, yeah, you've got Bradbury there, who they drafted at center last year. And Ruiz played center a lot in college, but I think he can play guard pretty much just as well. I can think. He's pretty scheme, he does not very scheme specific. He can play pretty much anywhere. He's my top interior guy in the draft. So I guess you'd have your interior there be him, Bradbury, and Elflein. And I think that would be a pretty solid interior and good for Kirk Cousins, and then also obviously good for Dalvin Cook.
Very young interior too, which is nice, and young and athletic. So yeah, I think that's just a good fit for him. And maybe you can put Bradbury at guard. Maybe you want to keep him at center there just for his development. You have a lot of things that you can kind of play with there. I mean, all three of those guys I think played center in college, so you can kind of play with it a little bit and see what works best. But at the end of the day, three really athletic young guard or young interior linemen that can work in Kubiak's system. I think overall it's a good fit.
On top of that, when you look, if Bradbury is still sweating a lot and it's bothering Kirk Cousins, you could just switch him out.
Exactly. That's the number one thing I think about, honestly.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. What are we on now?
Zach is up with the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, let's see. Dolphins. Literally anything could go here. I mean, they have every single need. Let's go with what man, this is tough because I don't want to reach for a tackle, even though they really need one and they really need linemen, and Ruiz would have been a good fit for him if he was still there. Let's go with, I'm going to go with my top corner that's here, just because I just think that adding just good playmakers and going best player available here, and I think getting Christian Fulton out of LSU, I think that's just a really good player that you go with here. And so the thing with Fulton is, Fulton, when you watch his film, is not an elite athlete by any means, but he understands his strengths and weaknesses a lot like Jeff Okudah, and he kind of plays within them. He's not as technically refined as Okudah, and that's why he's not going as high. He's not as long, as lengthy, as good in press, but he's very aggressive. He kind of has that great mindset that you look for in a corner. He attacks receivers, and I think the best indictment on his game was when you watched the Alabama game last year. They lined him up against Henry Ruggs for most of that game. And Henry Ruggs is a damn good receiver, like we talked about earlier, and he has this elite speed and everything. And Fulton does not have the speed to keep up with him. But he was at the line in his face, hitting him, and he was on him, and he was trusting his technique. He was trusting his ability. And I think that, at the end of the day, that's really what you want in your cornerback. So I think Fulton brings that kind of level of confidence and kind of moxie that you want, as well as, being a pretty good corner, also having pretty good ball skills as well, making some plays in his time at LSU. So I really like Fulton just to kind of shore up that secondary and kind of go best player available here, in a draft where they still have quite a few picks.
Yeah, no, I think when you look at what the Dolphins are trying to do and all the picks that they have, they're just trying to build on the culture from last year. This gives them a physical corner that can do that. Gives them the ability to cover some of the top receivers in the league here years down the road. I think it's a good pick. You're going best player available at this point, given what you need as a team. So there's nothing wrong with this pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had Technically Savvy written about 100 times when I put in the Christian Fulton tape. You hardly notice him out there if you're just like casually watching, but like that's almost the best compliment you can get if you're a DB, if you know what I mean, right? He's not going to wow again with athleticism, like you said, Zach. I've heard the league is a lot lower on him kind of than the media perception right now, so I don't think he goes round 1 on draft day, but I would certainly take him round 1, and I'd have no questions taking him on round 1.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I am too, and I've heard the same things from what has been told to me. But yeah, I think he's a round 1 guy, at least on tape all day.
Yep. All right. So next up, here we go. Seahawks. DeAndre Swift is off the board.
No, it has to be a reach for a running back. So it has to be like.
Oh, you're right.
AJ Dillon or someone.
Yeah. Who's the third string running back on UTEP? Let's take him.
Maryland has 2 running backs in this class. You can take Javon Leake, I think is his name.
Or McFarland. There we go. Seattle, a lot of needs. New play calling would be nice. That'd be nice draft choice at 27. But they rarely go corner in round 1.
Demolished.
They rarely go corner in round 1, so I don't see them going there, especially after acquiring Quentin Dunbar. The defensive line is a mess right now. Even if you bring back Jadeveon Clowney, they've still got a need there. He did nothing as a rookie. Yes, I know he was hurt, but he did nothing as a rookie, so you can't count on him. Jerron Reed regressed last year on the interior, so you could use interior help too, but I don't really see a guy there. I think edge is the way I'm going, and this might surprise a few people, and it will surprise a few people, but I'm going to go with Josh Uche from Michigan.
Ooh, nice. I like Uche.
Yep,
so
I do too.
Him, it's a very athlete-based pick. At the Senior Bowl, he dominated. I'm a sucker for guys with bend and flexibility. He's got both in spades. He also showed good coverage ability at the Senior Bowl, so you can kind of have him standing up as well. That flexibility, that versatility. Pete Carroll loves that kind of with the Leo role in his defense. We saw it with Bruce Irvin in the past, and now Bruce Irvin's back this year. So if Irvin plays that role for a year and Uche kind of develops behind him, or if he just plays that role right away, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there. Uche playing that Bruce Irvin role, that Leo role. I think that's a great fit for him in the NFL, and no team does it better than the Seahawks when it comes to playing that Leo role. So yeah, I absolutely love that pick for the Seahawks there.
I think just looking at the defensive line and what they need, you could probably go 5 guys here and you would be fine. But I think this specifically, exactly what you said with Bruce Irvin and that role that he specifically played, they've been missing that. So yeah, I think this is a great pick.
All right, so we got Ravens up next.
This one's quick and easy. I am stacked at almost every position. I traded for Calais Campbell. I could use a wide receiver here, but this is a pretty deep draft class. I could grab somebody in the 2nd round. I could easily go DeAndre Swift if I wanted to pair him with Mark Ingram maybe. But ideally, you would like to grab another linebacker. You lost C.J. Mosley last offseason, and here I would go Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma. I just think when you look at this defense, there's really not a ton of needs outside of linebacker. They're stacked at corner. They're above average at safety. Their defensive line now looks like it's going to be a very solid defensive line with the additions and keeping Judon as far as we know right now. This team is really ready to compete. It's all going to be dependent on what Lamar Jackson can do at quarterback. Are they going to continue to ground and pound and then get behind in the playoffs and force him to have to throw 53 times? And if they do, is he going to be able to take the next step to be able to bail them out? And so you could add another receiver here, but at the end of the day, like Lamar Jackson has to take that next step in development and be that quarterback that they're looking to be able to get him out of situations like that. And this year, when he was playing from behind, he was not able to do so. But when you add a captain at the linebacker spot that is everywhere the ball is going to be, physical downhill runner, this is the most ideal situation for the Ravens, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have made an emphasis this offseason here to kind of add to that front seven and really beef it up, and also get a lot of physical and aggressive guys in there. And Murray, for all his flaws, he does have a lot of flaws, and I think it might keep him out of round one come draft day. For all his flaws, though, he plays with his hair on fire. He attacks downhill, and he kind of fits that aggressor role that they're looking for on their defense. So, replacing a guy like Patrick Onwuasor, who was very inconsistent, even though he had a lot of flashy plays in the middle there with Kenneth Murray, I think that's a very fun pick that they could definitely go come draft day.
If linebackers were only allowed to move forward, I think Kenneth Murray would probably be the number one pick in this class. But you see his sideline to sideline range. You see that, again, the hair on fire mentality, like you said, Zach, and you see kind of just he's always around the football. But the coverage is a big issue with him, and I think that's something teams will have to look past if they take him here. You want him going downhill. You want him using that click and close ability. His coverage right now and his kind of trusting his keys and stuff, a lot of that stuff is still issues. So technically he's kind of a mess, but he's got a lot of those traits that you just can't teach. So I could definitely see him going here.
Yeah, certainly. So next we got the Titans, and I got a lot of Titans are tough because they're a really solid team. Robinson has done an outstanding job building the Titans. All around, it's not only just the starters. They got a lot of depth everywhere as well. They have a very consistent identity, I guess, is what I would say. They're very, they all kind of have that same mindset there. So I think I'm going to go with, I think they need a plug and play guy at tackle. And even though he's not my highest tackle I have rated here, I think he's the most ready to step into the NFL and kind of be productive. So I'm going to go with Josh Jones out of Houston at offensive tackle. And I just think, they need that guy who can kind of step in day one. Dennis Kelly could be okay, could be fine. But, on that side, they're going to be going against guys like Justin Houston, J.J. Watt. I don't think the Jaguars have anybody as of right now, but they could draft somebody as well. Josh Allen, I guess. Josh Allen is a promising rookie. It's a pretty good division for pass rushers on that side. So getting a rookie like Josh Jones, who I think is not the best athlete, doesn't have this elite athleticism that he's going to be able to rely on, but has very good technique, had a really good Senior Bowl, really strong at the point of attack. I think, having him compete with Dennis Kelly for that tackle one spot there would be a smart move for them.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Titans, with the loss of Conklin, and you're right, like in a division where you're going to be going against top tier edge rushers, this makes a ton of sense. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go edge rusher, given the fact that they lost Jarrell Casey. They really don't have another pass rusher on that team that could potentially get after the quarterback. But I think this is a safe pick because you're not going to be able to grab him in the second round when you pick next, and you're going to need some competition at that tackle spot. And this gives them that.
Yeah, so my thought process with defensive end is, they already have Harold Landry, and they're taking that flyer on Vic Beasley as well. So I feel like that's at least good enough as of right now. Obviously, you can hey, I had the 32nd pick with the Chiefs. I'll trade up with the Colts to the 32nd pick for all you Colts fans that are watching. But what I was going to say was, I think that edge presence that they have with those two guys, I think is good enough to where you can address that kind of round two. I just think Dennis Kelly in that offensive tackle spot, especially with their mindset of we are a ground and pound, we're going to run it down your throat kind of team. I just think getting more competition at that tackle spot is more important for them.
Yep. Fair.
Yeah, I've had Josh Jones at 29 in a lot of my mock drafts. I think it's a perfect fit. Even before Conklin left, I was kind of just projecting Conklin to leave. And now that he's left, that right tackle spot, one of the few weaknesses on the team. Again, like you said, Josh Jones isn't my top-rated tackle here, but I think he's the most ready to play right away. And I think he's probably the best one suited for the right side as well. So it's a good pick.
Yep. Okay, Green Bay. Carter.
All right. So they addressed linebacker, well, addressed in quotation marks, linebacker with Blake Martinez. I don't think that should be the last of their additions there, but there's no good linebackers here, really. Receiver, I don't want to, I feel like Higgins would be a reach, especially in a deep class like this. I don't want to take a receiver here, even though it's a massive need. I think you can come back to that in round 2. Best player kind of on the board relative to, I mean, probably a safe, like McKinney's probably the top player on the board, but I think with Savage and Amos, it's kind of redundant. I'm going to go Zach Bonney here, edge from Wisconsin. We're talking about a dependable player here. Hometown kid doesn't hurt, obviously, as well. But versatility, he could play inside if needed. He can play outside, just polished guy. I know they've kind of got in that like 3-4 system. They're trying to play Rashawn Gary on the outside there. It doesn't seem like a good fit for me there. Like I think he would be better suited kind of at 3 tech in that system rather than on the outside. But I digress. Zach Bond, edge, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I like the Bond. Oh, sorry.
Yep,
Okay, I was going to say real quick, I like the Bond fit mainly because, you already have Preston and Zadarius Smith. You have the 2 Smiths. But, bringing in a guy like Bond who can rush the passer, but he can also drop back and be that coverage linebacker. I mean, we saw that, Carter, you and I saw that down there at the Senior Bowl. He did a lot of linebacker drills and stuff, and he looked really good moving out there as well. Obviously, that's more of a projection. You're going to have to work with him out there. I think having hit both of those kind of areas for him, having him kind of work in both those areas and really develop there, I think that's a fun fit for him in Green Bay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think when you look at Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, this is a very good piece to that defense that gives them the flexibility to do a couple of different things. They're able to give different scheme looks with Braun in there, which would be interesting to see. I think this is definitely one of the better, like the best player available picks. And when you look at what they need in this class, if you were to trade or if you were to grab a wide receiver, like you really wouldn't be getting the value that you would be getting out of this pick. And so, yeah, I totally understand it.
Sweet. All right, so we got 2 more picks here. We got Niners, and then for the last pick, we'll say that the Colts traded up with, a 4th and a 6th or something.
Well,
like
and the
trade
Texans traded up on this one.
Oh, yeah, the Texans traded up here, too. Yeah, we're getting our fan bases that kind of
No, I'm not trading 40. I'm not trading 40. Yeah, once I saw how the value of the picks that have been valued here, I'll trade up the 57th and a 7th. And I honestly don't expect the Texans to trade up in the 1st.
And a 7?
Sure. No, how about 2 7s?
Well,
I know you love those.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Well, we're going to end at the end of round 1, so it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. I don't expect the Texans to trade up in the 1st round just because of their needs. And if they were to trade up, I don't think it would be to take a wide receiver. I think a player like Ross Blaylock would potentially be in play at this position, just given the need for an interior pass rusher that we don't have. But at the same time, I think you have the chance of also grabbing him. There's also a couple other defensive tackles that potentially would be there in the 2nd round that can give you what you're looking for. But because this is a Texans podcast and a Texans fan base, I have to give them a pick. So I'll trade up and I'll replace a Clemson wide receiver with another Clemson wide receiver in T. Higgins.
All right, so I'll comment on this. I am not a T. Higgins guy, like, at all.
Either am I.
Okay, like, I don't like T. Higgins whatsoever. Like, I think he's going to be like my wide receiver 13 or 14 in this class. Like, I'm really not high on him. And I think, when you watch him play, he's great at contested catches. He's a very competitive guy. He does a lot of really good things that you like, and I think he's going to be a solid wide receiver too in the NFL, and I think he's a good player. The issue with me is, when you watch film, I don't see a very good athlete, like, at all. And, obviously people are going to say DeAndre Hopkins was the same way, but Hopkins is a very, very rare case. And I wouldn't compare a lot of people to Hopkins. I just think that, you don't see much of an athlete. You don't see much of a route runner. And I think that just scares me a lot, especially in a class like this. I'd rather take the shot on a route runner. And, in years past, I've been burned on guys like DeMarcus Lodge, Kelvin Harmon, types of guys like that. And I'm not saying Higgins is that exact type. He was very productive in the ACC, and he put up some really good numbers, and he's a really good player. But I think, betting on that outlier, especially in a class like this, is just tough for me. So Higgins, I'm just not going to be very high on. I know a lot of Draft Network guys aren't very high on him. Or Carter, are you high on Higgins?
I am not. No, I think he checked out as receiver 11 for me, I believe. Okay. But I'd have to check that again. But no, he wasn't top 10 for me as well. Like you said, physical receiver, great contested catch receiver. So you think, Clemson receiver, great contested catch, limited athlete. He's DeAndre Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
No, he's
That's
not.
what people assume.
DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, a lot more quick twitched, a lot more nuance. Like he's great with like late hands and stuff like that. I don't see the same things with T. Higgins. I also don't really see he's able to make the contested catch, but his efficiency in that area wasn't great either. Like he wasn't able to come down with a lot of those kind of jump balls, or he came down with less than I expected to, given that's kind of how he wins, right? So it's so much easier to kind of project how a player wins if he's able to get separation. In this case, T. Higgins doesn't produce very much separation. Similar to kind of N'Keal Harry last year, and N'Keal Harry went at the back of round 1, so yeah. I could see T. Higgins going at the back of round 1. Not that I would take him there, but I could see him going there. But again, N'Keal Harry, he was injured, but he did not have a very good rookie season. Obviously, there's time around for that to change, but that's kind of the type of receiver you're projecting. He would theoretically be a good fit with Will Fuller, just because Fuller kind of is more of a speedster and he kind of can push vertically. But I wouldn't be in love with that pick.
Yeah, for me, ideally, if the Texans stay pat and grab Laviska Shenault out of Colorado, I would be extremely happy.
Yeah, I love
it. I just don't think that's right now. The Texans fans are in love with T. Higgins because of the Clemson draw. But I agree with everything you two said. I've not been a big fan of T. Higgins. I don't think he's really that much of an athlete. And honestly, one of the biggest things about Hop that people just, for some reason, don't talk a lot about is just his sure hands. And I don't even see T. Higgins with those type of hands. So for me, I honestly wouldn't, but this is what the fan base would like. I would go Laviska, or I probably would go Ross Blaylock or another defensive tackle that could push the pocket, but that's just me.
Awesome. All right, let's close this thing out. We'll just give the Colts this last pick here. And, kind of like what you said with what you're doing, I really wouldn't trade up for this pick ideally here at 32. There's 8 guys that I would really like at 34 for the Colts. And honestly, I just don't see the value in giving up, even day 3 picks with the way that Ballard's been hitting on them the last couple of years. So, for the sake of this and for the sake of Sean, who's a, devoted listener there waiting for us to do a Colts pick here. So shout out to Sean there in the comments. But we'll say the Colts are up here, and with the Colts pick, I'm going to go with a receiver as well. I'm going to go with Jalen Reagor, though. And
that's interesting.
And the reason why I want to go Reagor is, I think he's a lot faster than what his combine says. 4.4, I definitely don't see that on film. I see a guy who's in the 4.3s. His explosiveness is definitely something that really stands out, and he put up some elite numbers at the combine with that. And I think, when you are looking at the Colts, you think, okay, they got T.Y. Hilton, they got Paris Campbell, they have speedsters. You can never have enough speedsters, in the NFL. Yeah. And T.Y. Hilton's a very complete receiver. He's a guy who can also win over the middle. He can win in that intermediate game. So if you have a guy like Reagor who can win deep, he can get vertical, and he can even open up the field for T.Y. Hilton, or he can open up the short game for Paris Campbell, open up the short game for Nyheim Hines. I just think that adds such a big dynamic to your offense. You have a guy like Phillip Rivers. Obviously, he likes throwing to bigger receivers. But if you can just give him more space in the middle of the field for Jack Doyle, for Nyheim Hines, for Paris Campbell, for T.Y. Hilton, you're already getting value back on that pick. So maybe Reagor is more so for, maybe the next quarterback. Maybe, Rivers is not the quarterback of the future. So maybe Reagor pick long-term is more so for that next quarterback. But for right now, for Rivers, he just opens up that middle of the field so well for guys like T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle and such. And I think that just adds another dynamic to that offense that already has, 4 guys that are running 4.3s. I think just adding Reagor would be another dynamic to that.
Yeah, and I also think just given the Colts situation that they're in, for me, I think the Colts are the clear front runner for the AFC South. I think there's a lot of talk about Phillip Rivers and not being able to do things. That's a conversation you and I can have on the podcast. But I think that the Phillip Rivers move is probably one of the better moves in free agency that people aren't talking about, because I don't think people are paying attention to what Phillip Rivers had to deal with the last 2 years in Los Angeles. They're talking about an offensive line that literally could not block anything. It's not like he is 27, 26 and has some mobility. This has always been a quarterback that has lacked mobility, and then he's older, so now he really doesn't have it. I think this pick is nice because Phillip Rivers has a quick release, and this will just add to that offense that is missing a player like Reagor. And where else were you going to go at that pick? Like, you guys are stacked at a lot of positions. You already added DeForest Buckner. This team has almost all the players that they need to compete. I don't know if they'll win a Super Bowl with Phillip Rivers because he is turnover prone, but at the end of the day, like, this pick is a perfect pick for what the offense looks like they want to do.
Yeah, and before you jump in here, Sean just said him or Ayuk at 44. I absolutely agree. Ayuk at 44 would also be a really good pick, especially with his wingspan, his ability after the catch. Ayuk, I think, would be a really good pick too. But Carter, you can jump in with your comments here before we close it out here.
All right. Also agree with Ayuk there. But as far as Reagor goes, 4.4 guy, but he's a 4.3 guy on tape. So I'd kind of list that as a 4.3. Elite jumping numbers as well, so that explosion is there. A lot of people say, well, he's got the production and he's got the speed and whatever, so like, are him and Henry Ruggs the same? Henry Ruggs, to me, a lot stronger kind of in contested areas. Like, I think his hand strength in traffic is much better. But Reagor, similar player. I think he overlaps a bit with Paris Campbell, but you can never have too many speedsters, like you said. And I think he's already like a lot more nuanced than Paris Campbell was coming out of college. Campbell was a lot rawer as a prospect, and we've seen with Reich, he loves to execute a lot of like mesh concepts and stuff and get those guys on drag routes and use their speed and use their yards after catch ability. Reagor's got that, and like you said, nope. I've said, and like you said a million times, but you're right with all accounts. You can never use too many yards after catch players.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we just got through the whole thing, whole round one.
I can't believe it took 2 hours. That was kind of shocking. I thought we would kind of fly through it, but then once we added the trades in. Carter, Zach, thank you again. I appreciate it. I'm glad that we could do something like this. This was just as fun as I expected it to be, so thank you for that. If you guys want to do round 2 sometime next week, let me know. But make sure you guys follow Zach and Carter on Twitter. I'll put this out as a podcast at some point, but thank you guys for taking 2 hours out of your Friday. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll continue talking.
Yeah, let's start it earlier next time, and we'll be good.
And also,
yeah, I agree. Maybe like a 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
I'll do